intelligence, disruptive technologies, expert systems, sensory mechanisms, remote control, no point, everything is data-driven, but the data is not captured. It is there. That is why it's called big data. Your computer cannot handle it. But with the cloud and all those things, you can do it. Now, the point is, if these new kind of technicians are going to be there, and the supplier of these technicians are from India, and as a matter of fact, in the United States, just like German engineering, Swiss chocolates, Indian techie, if an Indian techie cannot fix your problem in the United States, no one can. And if that is the damn reputation we have, why are we afraid of that? We have to take control and take charge of the future. And that is already happening whether you like it or not, regardless of the IAS officers, regardless of the politicians, regardless of that. That is what the internet world and what is called as a new fourth industrial revolution has clearly created a huge opportunity for us. Now the question is, if we are skilling our people of the best practices of yesterday, we are losing the ground. But if we know what is happening, please note that this is another thing. 6 years in a row, MIT, not Madras Institute of Technology, the Cambridge, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, put all their courses, whether it is engineering, business, or anything, free in the internet. All the assignments internet. I thought, why they are doing that? 6 months back, they made a story and made an announcement. You don't need to come to United States. You do not need to step into the portals of Cambridge, MIT. You can sit in a remote village in Manamai, where Great Lakes, and you take our courses and pay a fee of 1/20th of the total fee to make sure the exams of yours are graded. And if you get that, I will get you an MIT degree without you stepping to any place. Now, are we not going to compete or not? And who is going to master that? Very soon, the Madras MIT may have to be called Madras Institute of Technology. And that many people are going to be there. So, folks, yes, a lot of things are going to be disruptive. A lot of things are going to be, but if we are smart, and I bet you we are more smart. Pratap Reddy was talking about EKG. I do not know whether you know this stuff. Now there is an EKG which can go to every village. And that is, if you want to have an EKG, you have to have power. And of course, you know the power situation in Tamil Nadu. 90% of the time, electricity goes off. So therefore, you cannot use that. And therefore, the guy identified only 2 D-size battery. And there are not too many leads. One green button, one red button. That's it. If you put the red button, stops. Put the green button, it works. And I can get 100% of the EKG results in this particular device, which can be carried in a backpack, and you can run by Madras, Tamil Nadu bus transport. That is the Indian jugaad. Now, with the Indian jugaad and the technology there, I bet you in less than 2 to 3 years, the whole world can be supplied with the professionals trained in next practices and not best practices. And if that happens, we get what we lost 2,600 years back as the height of highest education in the world, and that paradise is lost and the paradise is regained. Now, I want you to know that this is not just the tip of the iceberg. As a matter of fact, I have a defibrillator, pacemaker. As I said, 65% of my heart is gone. I am already got 80 years already. Believe it or not, I will die soon, someday. But I will not die out of a heart attack. I will not due to a heart failure. It will be something else. Why? These 2 guardian angels implanted is consistently emitting signals to somebody in Chicago, where they are monitoring. Even if I go in a slightly higher speed instead of walking or slightly running, this will stop it. And it will give me a kick. And just like in the movies, somebody is doing this thing, this will automatically do. So the question is, when there are continuous systems of things like this exist, whether it is healthcare, whether it is modern technology, whether it is a 3D printing, or whether it is Internet of Things, or if it is design thinking, artificial intelligence, all of them are mastered. Believe it or not, you go to any top university in US, the dean or a chief professor is an Indian. What is the reason? We have dominated in a white-dominated world. If Trump can win, anybody can win, right? So the question is, we are aware of the data. Now, how did I have actually an article which came in Business India, Triumph. I am the only guy who predicted sometime in September 11 in a public talk like this in Hyderabad, Trump will definitely win. Why did I say win? Knowing full well 10 to 12% percentage of points lead Hillary had. Because exactly that is why Barack Obama also won. And the guy, and that is why I have this picture. Both of them won. Believe it or not, nobody ever predicted an African American can ever become a president. It happened. Why? He was able to have the information at his tips so that every second he knows exactly what is going on. The guy who designed that thing is David Axelrod, a professor, and I worked with him. And therefore, we were able to monitor the movement and the psychology of everybody and appeal with a proper slogan and hit them hard. And Trump knows that. And who is the supporter and who is the designer for his success? An Indian PhD from Iowa. All right? He was able to give us information. Whereas, and now, I know that. That's number one. He's got the data. And secondly, people also know, I was at least clear in my mind, that 10 days before the election, there will be some leaks, probably by the FBI director. I said that in a videotape. And when that comes, the 10% lead will become at least 6% lead for Trump. And can you ever believe somebody with 3 million votes less losing, 3 million votes higher losing the election, and a guy with less than that, less than 3 million, winning the election? Why? He understands the performance. So folks, if our people are aware of the changing world that is happening and the kind of technology and skills that are needed, even a person who has not got even a high school graduate, he can actually use with a GPS, with a worn-out computer, with a system, and learn everything through Google. Right now, it is no more Mata Pita Guru Devam, Mata Pita Google Devam. All right? And now, who is this guy? He's not even a graduate, but he is a wizard in terms of computer, with useless computers. All right? He used that into a productive computer, put it on a sort of a fisherman's boat, and with a motor boat, when the father is taking this kid, he is able to direct where the fish prices are highest and identify what is the market and the catch of the fish, identify the market, and runs this boat at the fastest way. All of them are stolen from somebody or thrown away in the waste packet. And he put all these things. Did he go to any college? No. Our kids have a DNA of becoming an Indian techie. And so if we give that kind of a tools, we are going to win, and we are going to win back. So this is exactly how these guys got it, and I want to stop at only one point. The one point I want to talk about is PUCA. PUCA is not VUCA. VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Now, the next practice is called PUCA, Platform for Unmanned Cargo Aircraft. Imagine a whole plane, like a Boeing 777 or an Airbus 360, taking off from United States, like Chicago or New York, going to Shanghai in 20 hours without a pilot or any human being in the plane. Nobody. It is like a big drone. Right now it is existing. Singapore government has announced 300 driverless taxis will be flying. This is pilotless plane. Exclusively, now it's no pilot, and therefore there is no need for we to pressurize the cabin so that people can breathe with oxygen. And that is a saving of 14% of the energy cost. 14% of the energy cost is used so that we can breathe when we are going the plane in that high altitude. Now that is not needed. And not only that, the person with all the cargo packed like a sardines in a little bag, and then it can go to Shanghai in 20 hours as opposed to 25 days a normal ship happens. If you take into consideration all those things, the cost of air shipping through this PUCA world will be cheaper and less expensive, and you can reach the customer much ahead of time. In that world, who is controlling all these PUCA, etc.? Again, Indian techie. So folks, did we teach them? Did our schools taught them? They learned by themselves. From where? Internet, revolution. And now they saw the application, and they are not degree graduate. The mechanics of Tesla are getting $180,000 a year. Again, Indian techies. But if you are a normal mechanic, you get $40,000. The disruption is going to happen everywhere. It is going to happen. So let us skill our people with the next practices. And that is why we have created a new MBA program with Illinois Institute of Technology, Design Engineering, and engineering, modern world, artificial intelligence, expert systems, and all of them combined so that you go only 6 weeks to Chicago and get the highest quality MBA, which is, and the best design school is now in Illinois Institute of Technology. And we are able to bring that to the same price. Same thing, we brought Gilead Sciences to cure for all the villagers here. Normally it is $84,000. Gilead Sciences has found a cure for hepatitis C. Now we were able to get it to 1%, I am advising them. So to India, the same drug is available for 1% of the price. Of course, we are not supposed to export to US. And now even that 1% of $840 is impossible. So Cipla, Ajay Piramal Group, Biocon, all of them compete and then brought down to $200. And then now if the villagers cannot even afford $30, so we went to the government and the two governments are now giving. Folks, the things are going to be available in plenty, and if we do not jump the boat right now and get into the bus, we will again miss the boat. Time has come. Thanks for this conference, and let us understand this stuff. Thank you very much. Good luck. God bless you. Jai Hind.
I think while we have a techie fixing up the computer, thanks a lot, Professor Bala. We have Richard Reiki, who is the ex-CEO of KPMG, who will also enlighten us on the subject of technology.
Good afternoon, everybody. And after listening to Professor Bala, I think you didn't need to have coffee. I think everybody would have woken up. And it's always a very difficult task. Two things. One, speak after him. And secondly, speak before lunch, just before lunch. So I'm just holding you up. So I'll try to keep it as brief as possible and give you my... Technology has its problems also. I'll give one more example. You would have read recently about Apple. They had created artificial intelligence. They had created these bots, which were doing chats with the various users. And what happened was when something becomes more intelligent than human beings, they started speaking in their own language, and which the humans couldn't understand. And ultimately, Mark Zuckerberg had to withdraw it, and because it was creating more problems than... so technology has issues which are beyond what humans can comprehend. Some of it you train them. I'll give you a small example. At KPMG, we work with IBM Watson we can see in the consulting world, actually, technology overtaking all of us. So we work with IBM Watson for machine learning, and the machine was trained for 2 hours. We put data into it, 70% accuracy. 70% accuracy came from a 2-hour training of a machine. Just imagine because a machine is like a child. You keep training it, you keep putting used cases into it, it keeps assimilating all of that, and what it comes out with, it does its own thinking. And when it does its own thinking, it's not computing now, it's thinking. And it's actually saying what should be the next answer. So I think the world in which we live in, till now, the jobs that were getting disrupted, were the blue-collar jobs. Because you had robots coming into factories, into warehouses, and taking away human skill which was being used. India, we have so many, all these e-commerce companies are using robots. Yeah. They're using robots for getting across. Okay, I'm sorry, this technology glitches. So they're using robots to actually get there. But today, if you ask me where machine learning, artificial intelligence is going, it's actually going to take away the white-collar jobs. The jobs which you and I do are at risk, and very high risk today. Professor Bala gave examples of how his car was remote repaired from sitting wherever, thousands of miles away. I mean, that's what is going to happen. I mean, we lived through an industrial revolution where mass production was there. Today, it's no more mass production. Today, you can't say, I want to mass produce a car, because today everybody wants a car with a certain specification. And I think that's where life is going to move. And if we are not ready for this, and if we are not going to get ready for it, we have some serious challenges. First of all, in India, we already have challenges on skilling. Forget about technology. Even before technology came in, India has the youngest population in the world. Our median age is 27 years, the youngest anywhere in the world. But it also has its disadvantages, because all these people need to be skilled. Our dropout rate of people who come into the education system before they enter into, by the time they reach college, is about 90%. And if this 90% people need to get skilled to get a job, now nobody wants, see the challenge that we have had across this country till now, there was no respect for jobs which were not office jobs. If you were a driver or a carpenter, I mean, there was no kind of this thing for it. So that is something that everybody needs to do. And I was listening to John Chambers' interview the other day on the television. I don't know how many of you saw it. But the challenge is facing the whole world today. The challenge facing the whole world today is jobs are going to be displaced. What are we going to happen? So let's look at ATM. I mean, we have all experienced it, right? ATM came in. So what was the first prediction that came out? Oh, ATMs are going to come up. We don't need these tellers anymore. In India, I'm just talking India today, okay? What happened? Tellers grew 100%. It doubled. Why it doubled? Because the efficiency that you brought into the ATM, you got into branch expansion, and you needed more tellers to go there. So when there's a disruption, there is a movement from one job to the other job. And people need to become, flexible to be able to learn. I remember when I used to talk to my people and tell them that every 3 years you need to reinvent yourself. I think I'm outdated now, because 3 years is too long to reinvent yourself, because the way the pace of change that is taking place is actually completely remarkable and never seen before. I mean, John Keynes, 1930, spoke about technological unemployment. 1930, he spoke about technological unemployment. That is still happening today. But what is happening in technological unemployment today is that it's spread across all sectors. It's spread across every level of management. It's not happening only at one level, which is the junior most level. So I think the point that where we have reached an inflection point, and we cannot ignore it. I think it is time that civil society, government, academicians like Dr. Bala, industry need to come together and say, how do we deal with this challenge? How do we reskill some of the people? How do we upskill some of the people? How do we retrain some of the people? We just heard earlier that today somebody was doing very well in his organization. 3 years back, today he's on an exit case. Why? Because he's not relevant today to the organization. And this is very true. This is an absolutely right statement. I mean, most companies are facing it. Cognizant, which was the fastest growing IT company in the world, or maybe India or wherever, had its slowest growth rate. And not only them, but all the IT companies are going through their slowest growth rate. And this is happening because of the change that is happening, and people are not talking. Even NASSCOM has made a prediction that there will be 20 to 25% cut in jobs. And IT industry, if you look at India's boom, When India opened up in 1991 and it took what 5-6 years for that thing to settle in, I think the boom came from the IT sector, which was a huge recruiter. The young graduates got jobs which they had never seen before. India was an upswing at that point of time. That story is almost over. That story in its current form, it's over. So people need to find completely new jobs. Can you tell me one thing? So you'll say, okay, fine, this is fine. But if you take the last 4 to 5 years, look at the new industries that have come up. I mean, the entire social media, which was completely defunct few years back, which was not even there, not even thought about, today employs a huge number of people. We heard earlier in the branding session how social media has completely taken over. I was listening to a guy who runs probably the best PR agency in the world. Edelman is the US firm. He said, today you don't need the mainstream media. You write your own story through social media. You don't need mainstream media today. And if you see what Trump is doing, I know people can criticize him and say whatever they want about him, but he is scripting his own story through social media. He's telling the world the way he wants to tell the world and not wait for a journalist to interpret what he has to say. Now, whether it's right, wrong, that's a different matter. But he's scripting his own story. You see, Modi, right? You take all the global leaders who are there on social media, script their own story. Because they want the world to know, listen to them from their side, and they have the largest followers. I mean, you take a newspaper, how many people read a newspaper today? And you look at the people who will get onto social media and actually look at those tweets or those posts in different places, it's much more. So, and I think we have to understand this new reality. If we don't understand this new reality, we are in for serious trouble. Because what has happened, technology or which has come into our lives has also brought huge number of risks. Till now, people ignored something called cybersecurity. Oh, this cannot happen to me. This has happened somewhere else. It cannot happen to me. But let me tell you, each of you are working in any company, your site is being hacked as we're sitting in this room. It is being used, it is being hacked in different ways and you don't even know about it. And I think the amount of, and cybersecurity, you know, forget about people are talking of nuclear war, India, China, India, Pakistan. Let me tell you, there is going to be no physical war that is going to be fought. If a war is going to be fought, it's going to be the cyber war that will be fought. Because that war will be so destructive. Just imagine today, tomorrow morning you get up in the morning and you don't have any access to your bank account. Entire system has been completely attacked through cyber. Just imagine the country will come to a standstill. You don't need to go further than that. I mean, the amount are very secure installations, our energy utility companies, all the things that are critical to keeping this country up and running can be brought down. I mean, we have seen airlines. I mean, you saw British Airways closed down there because the system was hacked. For one day, there was no flights could take. And I heard recently in some other airline, also Canadian or somewhere it happened, where the thing was pulled down and they just couldn't fly a single plane out. So the point is we have become so dependent upon technology. And if we don't understand cybersecurity and if we don't keep our systems secure, because we are plugging one loophole, another one is opening up. Because please understand the black net, as they call it, or the underworld of the internet are working overtime, some out of fun. Some people do it just to prove that they are more smart, and some people do it for various other reasons. It could be extortion, it could be asking for, or they are angry on something and they do it. They are into hacking various systems, and they are far intelligent than you and me when it comes to understanding how to hack into the internet. So I think we should be very careful, the world in which we live in. One, we live in a very transparent world today. Today, what you saw Shiv presenting Glassdoor. If you have not seen glassdoor.com, that tells you exactly who you are, who your company is. It's there. Your employees are talking about you, your ex-employees are talking about you, and nobody's telling them to talk. It's coming out of personal experiences. Today, any company doesn't need to wait for feedback. HR doesn't need to wait for the end of the year to give a feedback. Employees giving feedback on the go, through social media, either criticizing the company or whatever. And are we picking it up? So my point is that we have a challenge, which is skilling. We need 12 million jobs created every year. 1 million people are coming to the workforce. Today, only 5 million are getting skilled. So there's a gap. There's an old gap. So there are 3, 4 issues. One is the skilling gap itself. Automation is going to make that gap even bigger. Number two, we don't have the skilling institutes today to impart that kind of knowledge. Number three, some of those institutes that are there for skilling are running redundant courses which have no relevance today, which has absolutely no relevance to the kind of job this guy will do. So he will get skilled, he will not get employed because the courses are being run through some age-old mechanisms. We are fighting on some education system, but we are not training the youngsters for the current world. The current world of technology, we are not training up the youngsters. And I think we need to train the youngsters for artificial intelligence, for machine learning, because if we don't get, and we ourselves need to be aware about it, because if we are not aware about it, it's not about being digital native or native, somebody who understands completely, but you must know the power of digitization, what it can do. Because if you can understand what technology can actually do for you, you can understand what it can do. I mean, you just look at the simple case, Apple as an example. Yesterday, again, the shares went up considerably. And it is coming, and people were arguing. I was watching that program as to why Apple is still strong. Steve Jobs is dead, and may his soul rest in peace. But his company still continues to dominate the stock market. It still continues to be the most valued company in the world. And it comes on the strength of all the innovation that they did and all the updates that they do. So it is not about taking out the phone. So we are so much lost into it, they're saying other phones. It is all about the software. The software that they give in, the connected systems that they connect you to, and the ecosystem to which they have connected you to will actually do it. Before joining KPMG, I used to work in a company called Arthur Andersen. Arthur Andersen at that time had taken out something called global best practices. And we used to charge the clients, and that was developed with a university. It is not Arthur Andersen we developed with a university because academia plays a big role in a consultant's life. And we developed it, and we used to charge for it. One day somebody in Chicago decided, but why do you want to charge for it? Let's give it free. So everybody thought, are you mad? It's so much investment you have made. Why are you giving this away free? But can you believe it? It was made free. Everybody needed a passcode. So whoever wanted would ask for a passcode and get into that system. But their understanding of that global practices, they learned what it was. So they came to Andersen for consulting. Now, can you implement this in our company? We have understood it, we have learned it, so you should understand that how certain things can actually lead to a completely different business which you never thought it would lead. So today, knowledge is free. Earlier, we consulting firms used to make a lot of money out of market research. Today, with Dr. Google there, client has as much knowledge as you have. So if you can provide more knowledge than what Google can provide, then only a client is going to come to you. So I think the point is we have reached a stage in life where technology has overtaken all of us. Technology has become a byword of which we have to, for where we'll get our benefit, which will increase our productivity, which will increase the way we do work. But skilling, in my view, still remains a big issue. It's an issue which cannot be tackled in a conference. It's an issue which cannot be tackled in discussing in 1 hour. It's an issue which goes beyond people sitting out here. And I think there's too much. Okay. Okay, I will. I think we have already run out of time, and I think the lunch is also getting cold now. So I will end my talk out here. But please smell the coffee. This technology has come to overtake our lives, and all of us sitting in this room, our jobs are at risk if we do not change. Thank you very much.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you heard from Professor Bala about reminding us that Indians are at the forefront of technology. Much as we look at technology disrupting our lives, Indians have been an architect of the technological change. Spoke a little bit about some of the challenges which are being faced in terms of the disruption that we're seeing that's happening today. So what we're talking about changes is happening at this very moment. So it's very important that you pay attention to that. And at the same time, the opportunities that it brings for us as Indians to narrow the gap between us and what we call as the developed world is also an opportunity we have to grab. So with that, we'll take questions. Okay, if there are no questions from the audience, yeah, one second. Yeah. No, this is from the previous. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, please.
Thank you so much. This is, I thank MMA, IMA for giving us this platform and actually listening to the leaders over here. My question is, when it is leadership for growth, what you have said is a very bleak picture, sir, and that was before lunch. You know, it's very, jobs are being laid off. We need to reskill ourselves. And so my question for you is that, with the perspective of this difficult situation, all right, with automation, what is the role of leader in people development, in an organization and actually outside also, all right? With jobs being laid off, what's the role of the leader? With this perspective, I'd like an answer. Thank you so much.
The leader, in my opinion, is like a person who is taking the horse to the pond, all right? Not to make the horse drink the water from the pond. So if a leader, as a matter of fact, has a team in his group from various sectors, can identify how the world is changing in the next 3 years, 4 years, that's all. Nobody can predict more than 10 years. This is what is happening. This is our core competency. If we continue our core competency, we will be out like Kodak. I can tell you at least 20 companies which are number 1 or number 2 in the world went bankrupt. Unexpected. So, but at the same time, the same Kodak invented the digital camera, but they did not understand how to market it. So the question, the leader's job, in my opinion, is, hey, team, and make sure everybody participates.